Hello, everyone. It's Kristie with AG Takes Over. Glad you're here. This is actually a pretty requested video. I have a few times filmed in my upstairs doll room where I'm facing a wall that contains these pegboard doll hangers. And I've gotten a few questions from people like, what's going on with those things? How are your dolls hanging on the wall? Can you show us how you did that? And I did a basement project over the summer and ended up with a couple spare boards. And I was like, yeah, sure, I can do it. I don't really need to make another one of these, but I don't have to invest too much to do it. So, sure, what the heck, I'll do a tutorial. And I decided I would go ahead and make this one ASL accessible because why not? So the pictures will be on the right, and obviously the interpretation is on the left. And I am not doing any video of it. Sometimes it's just too hard to manage all of the things, but I think the description and the pictures will paint a clear enough picture. So here's what we started out with. The ones that I have in the upstairs room are 40 inches wide, like planks, boards, whatever. And the ones that I had left over from a project are 48 inches wide or long. And I just figured I would use them as they were, so I didn't have to do any extra cutting. So I started with 48 inches, as you can see, and like 9.5 tall. Since this is going to be going, long ways along the wall, then I'll call that tall. 9.5 tall. That's neither here nor there. I think it could have been wider or narrower, doesn't really matter. And I referred back to the ones that I had already made and decided what do I want to keep the same and what do I want to change. So the spacing of the pegs that you put underneath the doll, like in the doll's armpits, I like the spacing on the ones that I did, and they're about 4 inches apart. So you don't need full 4 inches on the sides. So I did, starting at the edge of the board, went in 2 inches. That's where I put the first peg. And then I figured count every 4 inches and see how many I'm going to be able to get on a 48-inch board. So the answer is 12 of them, which means this is going to be able to hold 6 dolls. So the spacing I wanted to keep. And I went ahead and measured out. You can see there at the 2-inch mark, at the 6-inch mark, and at the 10-inch mark, I've just made little dots where I plan on creating my holes. And I decided I wanted to make the pegs a little bit longer than the ones that on my upstairs pegboards. And I just have always felt like they're a little short, and it makes the dolls feel a tiny bit precarious, even though they haven't fallen off. If I had it to do over again, I would make them longer. So I'm making them longer. Decided 5 inches would be good. And 5 inches times 12 pegs means I need 60 inches worth of this dowel rod. So they came in 48-inch lengths. So I bought 2 of them. 5/16 is, I just went based on the ones that I had upstairs. Those work well enough. So 5/16 diameter, 48 inches long, times a 2 count for this particular project. And then, like I said, I decided to make them 5 inches long. So I just marked all along both of the dowel rods every 5 inches. And this would have been a lot faster. It was still a quick project, but it would have been a lot faster had I at least had like a circular saw or something. What did I have? A hand saw. We make do. This is what I had on hand. So I just sawed them. Fortunately, 5/16 diameter is pretty easy to cut through. So I cut them and I sanded all the edges with a rough piece of sandpaper I had lying around. And here's what I had ready to go. And then the other change that I decided I would like to make is have them angled slightly upward. And because the ones that I made, the pegs go straight out. And again, I just feel like it would make them feel extra secure on their pegboard if the pegs went slightly upward. So here's what I devised. And if you want to know what this is made from, I'm trying to show you right here, like my library book is representing the board. And then that bottom angle is about the angle I decided I wanted the pegs to come out of the board at. And I just used like, literally went to the recycling bin in the garage and grabbed out some food container, and that's what I used as my template. And because they're 5/16 dowel rods, I grabbed my 5/16 drill bit to have on hand, but I definitely knew that I wanted to pre-drill, or that 5/16 drill bit was gonna go all over the wood. Um, I started with this little tiny drill bit and honestly could have started with a little bit bigger, but it's fine. It worked out just fine. And then once I had them drilled, this is basically what I was using that as a guide for, that piece of cardboard food container. I would try to make sure that I was following that angle as I drilled. Obviously, like I said, no way for me to film that easily, but hopefully this gives you an idea. I held the piece of cardboard against the board with my left hand and drilled with my right, and it was pretty easy. And there you go. This is all of them put in. Um, I'm sure if you took a level or you got really precise about it, some of them might be slightly like a couple degrees different in angle than the others, but mostly I think it turned out pretty darn well. They're just stuck in at this point, and I wanted to give them some reinforcement. So I grabbed some wood glue that I happen to already have. So far, all I have invested in was the 2 dowel rods. But I had some wood glue, and I just stuck a little bit of it on the edge, on the end of each peg, shoved them in the board, smeared around the excess, and then I also decided, while I'm at it, why not reinforce it on the back, since I had drilled all the way through. And if you know anything about wood glue, let it cure. So I just went to bed. And this morning I woke up and went out in the garage, gave them a little jiggle, made sure that everything was completely dry. And even then, I didn't do anything with it because I had to go to work. So on my lunch break, which meant it had been at least 12 hours, the wood had had plenty of time to cure. I finished up this project. So next thing to do was get something to mount this with. And I happen to have these. I usually keep a couple different kinds of framing options or hanging options. And these are the kind that they have the teeth of the sawtooth hanger thing, but it says push in on the packaging. So you can just push these right into the wood and then hammer it the rest of the way. I did that and felt confident that it was going to be sturdy and stable enough. However, if you have a lot of doubt, if you notice on the edges, the right and left edges of each of these sawtooth hangers, there's a little empty triangle. You could always put a finishing nail in there, just to give it some extra reinforcement. I might do it just if paranoia gets the best of me, but I really don't think it's going to be necessary. So anyway, I didn't put those on yet. I just grabbed them. And then I went downstairs to where I had decided to hang this, and I found the studs first because I wanted to put it in the studs to make it as stable as possible. And then once I marked where the studs were and put the nails in the wall, then I just put this board right underneath and marked where I needed to put my hangers on the board. So here they are pushed in, or here's one of them anyway, pushed in. And let's see, here is the board with both of them pushed in. And then it was just a matter of hanging them up. So there it is. And here it is with all the dolls on it. So this is a really easy project. Granted, I had the board already, right? And I had the sawtooth hangers already. So it depends, how much of this you're going to have to buy on your own. I would say this project cost me, the dowels, $10. I did look at the pricing of the sawtooth hangers, and it was like $2.79. So, you know, if you can find a spare board lying around, then this is like a $12 project. If you have some nails and whatnot. If you don't have a drill, you're gonna need to borrow one. You're gonna need some kind of saw, whether even a hand saw, like a manual saw, whatever. You need some kind of saw. And I'm really happy to just leave this as a raw piece of wood, but I was thinking about options. Obviously, you could stain it, and if that's the case, you could wait until the whole thing's put together and stain it. You could paint it, and again, you could wait until the entire thing's put together and then paint it. Or I thought this morning if somebody had, really wanted to add some kind of more visually interesting pop and wanted to make sure that it would look good even when there aren't dolls on it, you could put contact paper with some kind of fun pattern over the board and then do all of the steps. So basically, that would be one of the first steps you do. And then you do all your measuring and your drilling and you're putting in your pegs and everything afterwards. But that would turn out well. I think that would be fun and wouldn't add too much of a cost. Yeah. Now I will say, now that I've done this, I kind of want to go back and scrap the two that I have upstairs and do them with these longer pegs at a slight angle because it really, really makes me feel like the dolls are so much more secure. And again, the way I did them the first time wasn't bad. None of them have fallen, but yeah, this just makes me feel like super, super confident that nothing's going to fall off. Anyway, if you have made these before, tell me if you did anything different, what you like about it. And if you haven't, but you think you might try, let me know that in the comments as well. I hope you're well, and I'm sure I will be back very soon with another video. Take care.